Today we're talking about job characteristics theory. We've already discussed skill variety, task identity, task significance, and autonomy. Lastly, we'll be talking about feedback. Feedback is knowledge of results. So, do you get to see the impact of your work, essentially? Do you get to see how your work influences other people or the ultimate goal, whatever that is? When we think of feedback, we often think of feedback coming from other people. So, your boss tells you whether you did a good job or not. Your coworkers tell you thanks for helping them out on that team project. Your clients or customers tell you, hey, great work. I really appreciate it. Or, vice versa. They're the ones complaining and critiquing. But when we think of feedback, we often think about feedback coming from other people. And that is one source of feedback. So feedback often comes from other people, but there are other sources of feedback as well. And one of them is the task itself. And we find tasks with lots of feedback. We find those types of tasks very engaging. Skiing is an example of this. I really love skiing. You know right away if you're skiing well or not, right? You're either falling or not, you're hitting obstacles or not, you're slamming into other skiers or not. You know right away if you are skiing well or not. It's not like you get down to the bottom of the run and then 6 to 8 weeks later you get a letter in the mail that was like, hey, great skiing. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but there are tasks where you really do complete the task and then 6 to 8 weeks later you get feedback on it. This is one of the most frustrating things about publishing scientific articles is that I will write an article and then I'll submit it for publication and then I literally won't hear back anywhere. The longest I had an article under review was over a year. So I had submitted a paper for publication and I didn't hear back until over a year later. That is really delayed feedback. We find tasks that give us a lot of feedback really engaging. This is why video games take advantage of this all the time. Video games give you feedback on your performance right away. Playing music is a task with a lot of feedback. You know right away whether you played the song well or not. And so tasks with this immediate feedback about performance, we often get absorbed in or get lost in. Being unemployed is a low feedback situation. So, man, if you've ever been unemployed and you're sending out resumes, it's like the worst thing in the world. Not just because you're like scared and worried about your future. That's a big part of it. But also just because you have no idea what's going on, right? You send out 100 resumes and maybe you hear back from 2 or 3 different employers. And you don't know what happened to the other 98 resumes, right? Were you like the number 2 candidate and you just barely missed it? Or were you at the very bottom of the resume pile? You have no idea how you stack up against the other people applying for jobs because you don't get any feedback from that. Potential employers, the people that you're applying to, rarely these days follow up with you and say, hey, we got your resume, we decided to go with someone else. You don't even know if they've filled the job, right? And so one of the just incredibly demoralizing things about being unemployed is you're sending out resumes every day and you're not hearing anything back about it. You're not getting any feedback on that.